I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards the realm of men.
He was the shield that guards the realm of men. He is the man who wouldn't stay dead, who saved Westeros on more than one occasion. He's the prince that was promised, the Queenslayer. He may know nothing, but he saved everything. And today, we'll be going over the story of Jon Snow, or Aegon Targaryen, the sixth of his name, and the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. All your support is really appreciated. Today, we're just going to do a three-parter on the story of Jon Snow. So I'll recap this entire story, and at the end, I'll give you my opinions on the character, everything that he's went through, and the ending. Jon Snow's story is one of the biggest in Game of Thrones. He actually has the most screen time out of any Game of Thrones character. So today I'm going to be doing the first of 3 videos featuring Jon Snow's story. The first video will be seasons 1 through 3. The second one will be seasons 3 through 5. And then the third one will be seasons 6 through 8. So guys, stay tuned with me, and I hope you enjoy. If there's a spoiler warning, if you haven't watched seasons 1 through 3, don't watch this video. Enjoy. Jon Snow's story is a pretty tragic one now that we know the ending. But let's go back to where it all began. Oops, not that far back. We'll get there. But we're going to start where the show starts, right before he leaves for the Night's Watch. Back when he was nothing more than a soured bastard who wants to go make a name for himself somewhere he feels welcomed.
Lady Stark thought it might insult the royal family to see the bastard in their midst.
Because as I just said, he is a bastard, a son conceived out of wedlock from the most honorable Ned Stark, or at least that's what we're made to believe. So Catelyn Stark hates the boy from the time he was an infant. There's nothing he could do to fix this, as Cat just has so much hate in her heart, and she directs it all towards the kid, who, to be honest, is already set for a hard life, being the bastard of a noble house. That can't be easy. We get to see this hatred early on, as she won't even let him be seated with the family at the feast that they have to celebrate King Robert's arrival. His whole childhood, he grew up dreaming of being a ranger for the Night's Watch like his Uncle Benjen. For this sole reason, she made his life miserable growing up. No one ever told him the truth of the matter, that the Night's Watch was nothing more than a stowaway for killers, rapists, and bastards. Now, maybe this was to save his own feelings, or maybe to save theirs. Either way, Tyrion Lannister, someone he had never met until he showed up at Winterfell with his brother and the Queen, that finally told him the truth. Of course, not until he was already on his way there. But what else could he do? He was a bastard. It's kind of the best thing he could ever hope for. I mean, he didn't really have any other options. So he decides to keep on going and makes it to the Wall. There he even finds it harder than he thought, as he's just as much an outsider as he was back home. Here, he's just Lord Snow. Ironic, huh? To highborns, he's just a bastard, and to lowborns, he's just another lord who was handed everything. He's a far better fighter than most, and this just adds to the hate. At one point, Tyrion even has to step in because he's about to get jumped. Tyrion then explains to Jon why he's better, and that some have never had Jon's privileged lifestyle. This hits home for Jon as he becomes a better leader and starts making allies, although some hate him more because of it. He later meets his future best friend in Samwell Tarly, as he basically saves Sam's life. If not for Jon being a big brother to Sam, they would have ate him alive, no doubt. Next, he finds out that he's not going to be a ranger. Now this is initially devastating to Jon, who even considers not taking the black, as since he's not a criminal, he can freely leave at this point. But it's Samwell Tarly who explains to him that he was named the steward of Lord Commander for a reason, and that one day he might even lead. This gets Jon back on track, and he takes the black by swearing the oath in front of a weirwood tree. Later, he saves his Lord Commander from a white by tossing fire on it, this saving the day, and earns his sword Longclaw, which is Valyrian steel, given to him. Now, this was a huge honor for Jon because this sword was meant for his son.
This is Valyrian steel.
It was meant for my son Jorah. He brought dishonor to our house, but
At the start of Season 2, Jon and the Night's Watch leave for Craster's Keep. They're looking for answers to where all the wildlings went, and they're trying to find Jon's uncle Benjen, who went missing midway through Season 1. Jon is really conflicted here because he hates Craster and everything he stands for, but the Lord Commander insists that they need the evil for the good. This is a valuable lesson to Jon, as he learns sometimes you must make peace with your enemies and that it's necessary to tolerate what you don't like. This gets even more complicated as Jon finds out that Craster is sacrificing his sons to the White Walkers. Here is the first time Jon sees the threat with his own eyes. He then gets caught by Craster spying and gets detained. He basically gets the entire Night's Watch kicked out of Craster's Keep, then finds out his Lord Commander knew about the sacrifices the entire time yet did nothing. Next, they journey to the Fist of the First Men, where they are to wait for the Half-Hand to meet up with them. It's here where Sam first finds Dragonglass and where Jon asks to go with the Half-Hand on a mission once he arrives. They're leaving to find out what the wildlings are up to and to take out some wildling lookouts. So he splits up and heads off with the Half-Hand in a small group. This journey is one of Jon's most important. He learns so much from the Half-Hand that helps him in the future. They then capture a small wildling group where Jon meets Ygritte for the first time. He is ordered by the Half-Hand to execute her, but Jon can't bring himself to it and lets her escape. He followed, thus getting himself lost, but he does catch up to her and keep her as his prisoner. In the books, they do this a little bit better because Half-Hand gives him the order knowing he won't be able to execute Ygritte, and does it with the intention of getting Jon caught and being able to infiltrate them, but the show does seem to make it all happen by chance. So she slowly breaks Jon down piece by piece, taunting him for being a virgin and getting under his skin. There is definitely some strong chemistry here from the start. She eventually plays Jon, gets away, and gets Jon caught, where we then find out the Half-Hand and his group were captured looking for Jon. Again, this is where I like the book's version a little bit better, as this way Jon's inability to kill Ygritte leads to all those men dying. We then get to see the Half-Hand talk Jon into fighting and killing him so that he may earn the trust of the wildlings, being the man that killed the Half-Hand, who is, by the way, one of the bravest characters in the show and one of the smartest characters in the books, at least. The plan works to perfection as he gains their trust. This is where Season 2 leaves us. We pick up in Season 3 with Jon arriving as a wildling prisoner. Jon then gets to meet the King Beyond the Wall, Mance Rayder, and Tormund Giantsbane. Jon is instantly strangely connected with Mance Rayder, as he may have abandoned the Night's Watch, but he still has a code of honor that Jon can relate to. He again learns a lot from his teachings from Mance. They weren't many, but they stuck with Jon all the same. Here, Jon learns that the wildlings aren't much different from them, but they're all going to die if Mance doesn't find a way past the wall. When they get to the Fist of the First Men, they see what the White Walkers got there first. Here, Mance sends Jon and Tormund to climb the wall, and they do, which is completely crazy. Here, Jon learns of Mance's plans completely and sets off. But before all that, we find out that Jon does know something, as he does that thing he does with his tongue to Ygritte in the cave and breaks his vows. He really does fall in love with her, but you just have a feeling of dread. At least I did. I knew this would not end good. After they get over the wall, Jon shows his true colors when he's forced to kill an innocent and kills their warg, then escapes, but not before taking a couple of well-placed arrows from Ygritte on the way. The season ends with Jon making it back to Castle Black, badly wounded.
I have to go home now. I know you won't hurt me.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
I do know some things. I know I love you. I know you love me. I have to go home now.
Alright guys, that's going to do it for part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed. Part 2 should be done by Wednesday, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks to everyone who voted. I will be doing the story of Arya Stark next. Alright guys, see you next time.